The good news is you can do this. And I'm going to encourage you, whatever you've been through, my prayers are with you. My thoughts are with you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rolla, clinical psychologist, and today I'm continuing my self-disclosure series on my life after divorce. I'm talking about my emotional recovery journey. This is episode 15. I can't believe it. We're going. There seems to be so many things to talk about. Episode 15 is about my dating weaknesses. And before I continue with this topic, I want you to please subscribe, press that notification bell so that you have immediate access to my videos. I also want you to follow me on social media at Ask Dr. Rolla, AskDrRolla. Now, let's talk about this. My dating weaknesses. These are some of the areas that I started to pay attention to in terms of my dating and working on them to put myself in a place where I am vulnerable enough to be able to connect with somebody who might end up being my husband, who I want to have a long-term marital relationship. I'm not one of those that believes that I should just have a companion. Everybody should do what works for them, but I'm not one of those. If you want me, you want me for the whole way. But anyway, what I'm looking for so that I can be vulnerable, but also not too vulnerable to where I'm open to unnecessary heartbreak, or I'm putting my life on the line for anybody. So there's a balance here. You need to be vulnerable in order to connect with somebody, because if you're not, then obviously, unfortunately, the pain of the past has damaged you to where you can't connect. And that's something you're going to have to work on, get help for. But you also don't want to be in a place where you're falling for everybody that comes, or that you're totally very irritable, aggressive, agitative, whatever that is. That shows that you're looking for people that don't even deserve you to show them that kind of attention, but you're giving it to them, and you're looking to people who can't give you what you want, but you're hoping that they do. And that is not always an easy balance to achieve, because human beings are complex. That's why I do what I do, and I'll always have work to do. So how did I begin to look at what my dating weaknesses are? And what are those dating weaknesses? I'm telling on myself today. So I'm going to tell you my dating weaknesses. I'm also going to tell you some of the cognitive self-talk that I do mentally to make sure that I'm processing what I'm going through. I'm not just meeting people and just dating without any purpose, mentally thinking through it. And then when my relationships, I have two major relationships that has ended. When they ended, how did I handle the breakups? And also, how do I deal with other people and their comments or their impressions about me dating, or me not being me dating, or me having broken up with somebody? So those are the things I wanted to talk about. Let me see if there's anything else. And also, I'm going to talk a little bit as well about the grieving process, because if you deeply cared for somebody and it didn't work out, it will be unhealthy to not think that you feel a little bit of sadness and frustration, even if it's a little, about that. So how do I process that sense of loss? That somebody who I thought could potentially be a good partner for me turned out not to be somebody that I can even continue to date. That is something I'm going to talk to you about. Let me start first with the fact that when I date somebody, I date them because going out with somebody to eat because I first met them is not a major date for me. It's just meet and greet. I'm not going to say that you give me good food, I'm going to eat it. But honestly, seriously, you can't make up your mind to seriously date somebody one time. So when I go out with somebody, obviously I've already made sure they're safe, they're reasonable, they can't be somebody who's jobless, on drugs, all that, cleaned out. You can have a decent conversation. You go out and meet and greet with them. And then over time, You now decide this person is somebody that I could really want to seriously date because they have potential. You don't know them yet, but the only way you're going to know them is by dating them. If you don't date them seriously, you're not going to know who they are. And if you don't know who they are, then you can't decide if they're a good fit or not. Good fit or not. So seriously dating is something that is a priority for me. What have I observed as my weakness? And I've observed this over 2 relationships, but also just in general, in terms of how I process my feelings. The first thing that is a dating weakness for me is meeting somebody and expecting that person to become wonderful in some areas of their lives because of what I bring to the table. I'm a psychologist. I'm very hopeful. I'm very optimistic as a person. I'm a person of faith. So sometimes I can be overly optimistic for other people, as if I know whether they're even motivated to address the issue. But if they tell me I'm challenged in a certain area, I'm inclined to think there's no problem that cannot be addressed with the right motivation, with support, with prayer and all that. That can be that has been a little bit of a weakness for me. But the other upside to it is that I still believe in people. So that's a good thing. I believe people can change, but I don't necessarily believe that because I bring positive things to the table, that's going to make them change. They will change if they want to change. I may encourage them, but ultimately it is their work to make those changes. It's not mine. So that's my first dating weakness. So I'm telling on myself. That's why I want you to share this video with as many people as possible. Number 2, because I'm loyal, I tend to be very disciplined I'm disciplined the way I do relationships. I'm committed to people. I tend to feel that will motivate people to want to do the same to me, with me. I have learned that to not be the truth. That the positive things I bring to the table are things that I do on a regular basis, whether I'm dating or not. It is part of my lifestyle. These are habits and values that I've nurtured for a long time, and I continue to hold onto tightly. If somebody is not holding onto those values tightly, no matter how good you are, they may actually even want to be with you because of the positive that you bring, but that does not mean that they're going to give you the same. So that has been an understanding and a perspective that I've had to work with. They have to do their own work, as I do my own work, and I continue to do my own work. Growing is intentional. It doesn't just happen. The third weakness I want to share with you is that being overly supportive when people are going through difficult times. Nothing wrong with being there for people, but a tendency to throw myself in there out of empathy to others. And in some ways, I may find myself working harder than them to address the issue. That's doing too much. My job is to support and let them take charge of their journey. And especially in a relationship that could lead to marriage, you don't want to save anybody. You really want to show you who they are and what their capabilities are. And if they need your help, they should ask it. And you also assess your life to see if it's something you can take on. So that's a weakness, jumping in. And that's something that I don't do anymore. I catch myself more. But those are that's a third weakness. A fourth one, and there could be more, but this is what I was able to come up with for now, is being overly friendly and communicative. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being friendly. I am friendly. Anyone who knows me personally, they know I'm a hugger. I'll hug you, I'll call you sweetie honey, and it's not fake. I am happy to be alive, and when I meet people, I want to give them my best. But I've noticed that when you're overly communicative and you're overly friendly, people think you're desperate. They don't know that that's your personality. They think you're trying to bait them or force them to do something they don't want to do. So that is a weakness that I continue to work on. I don't know you from Adam. I'm just starting to date you. I'm going to let the communication be more organic. I'm going to let it be more reciprocal. And I'm not going to be overly friendly. I'm going to be friendly, but not too friendly. Because this is a relationship where somebody maybe has gotten used to people running after them and being overly desperate, and I'm not overly desperate. What I am is interested in you if I'm dating you, but I'm not desperate for you to do what you don't want to do. So that being careful. And how did I notice this weakness? Maybe sending text too regularly to people who don't text you as often. In the early days of dating, they date you, they send you a message once, you send 3. It's too many. You may not mean to be that way, but they're starting to see like, oh, she's hounding me now, she needs me now. No, things need to be more organic, and being very friendly and communicative is a good thing. But in a relationship where you're dating, you don't really know the person yet, you don't need to throw yourself out there in such a way as if there was nothing going on before they showed up. So those are my dating weaknesses. The goal is to be vulnerable, to not allow the pain of the past to shut you down and make you negative, because that's one thing that is my payback for my divorce. I am not a negative person, never will be till I die. It'll never happen. But also not putting myself in a place where people think they can take advantage of me, because there are people out there that actually do that. And the fact that you don't do that doesn't mean that people don't do that. Now let me talk about what the things I have done practically to work against, to handle these weaknesses, which makes it under control. Because if you have a weakness or a challenge, or even it may be a strength in some others, but a challenge, if you're not very practical and make certain decisions, you will fall into the trap before you know it. And then I'm going to talk about the cognitive self-talk that I've gone through mentally in terms of when I've dated and the relationships ended. So let me talk about practical things that I would encourage anybody to do to protect their heart, to protect themselves. I say this because a lot of you who have not married before, and I've met so many of them, even people in their 20s, some of them grieve as somebody who's been divorced and they've never even married. Their heart has been broken many times over because they've made themselves way too vulnerable. It's good to be vulnerable, but you want to be vulnerable to the right person after they show you that they deserve that vulnerability. So what decisions can you make? It's okay to be all this friendly, want people to change, all those things I talked about, but what did I do that helped me to not get into any bad situations or bad traps? I always maintained a separate life from the people that I dated. I am not against people, people spend time with each other, but this whole idea of somebody living in my house like we're married is not happening. I found that when I'm very caring. When somebody hangs around me, and if I never done that, but if they were living with me, I will have a sense that they're already fully committed to me. I will have a sense that I have more ownership of their lives than I do. And so it's important for me. Obviously, for my faith, I have a very conservative approach to dating, but even in a very practical sense, I maintain a separate living arrangement. I pay my own bills. I take care of my own business. If the person I'm dating, the boyfriends I've dated, they wanted to help me with something, that's totally fine. But I maintain that separateness because that gives me the time to be objective. That gives me the time to be able to reflect on the relationship. And that helps me to not push a relationship too fast and assume things that the person has not said, or things they said and they did not mean. Separate lives is important. No moving in and no mixing any money. If the person is so motivated about me and they want to do all those things with me, then give me the ring. The other decision that I made is to fight very hard to take responsibility for my own mess. When I mean my own mess, my life, my bills, I have wonderful children, so that's not a mess. Just the backlog of responsibility that comes from having been divorced and losing property and all that goes with that. There's a whole lot of responsibility that I have. I do not consider that the assignment of the person that I meet to take that on board. I'm not saying they can't help me, but I don't expect them to do that. That way I can truly grow myself, even through pain, through the things I need to do. And I can also give them the permission to not be weighed down by my personal challenges. Doesn't mean I won't share it. I may need to work a little bit more hours. I may talk about a financial goal that I have. But my business, from what I had to deal with from my divorce, And raising my beautiful children is primarily my responsibility, and it will continue to be that way. And that frees me to develop myself. So I'm in love with somebody, I care about them deeply, but I'm not forgetting what I need to pay attention to. And that's absolutely important, especially when you're a single parent. Even if you're not a single parent, you still have a life. You want to build yourself. And sometimes we have to build ourselves through adversity, and that I've had to do. And it's been an enriching experience for me to do that. Number 3 thing that I've done, decision, I said maintain separate life. The other one, fight hard to take responsibility for my life. The third one is no jumping ahead of the other person. And I'll talk about that probably in another video about how to broach the issue of your relationship status and stuff. But really allowing and telling myself this is a two-way deal. 2 of you are in this relationship. You're not the only one that is going to be in it if you get married to this person. They're totally giving them respect as a decision maker. Even though I may want to jump ahead because I see the qualities in that person and I believe that something good could come out of our relationship, ultimately, I'm looking for them to also be actively involved. Because I'm very outgoing and boisterous and I'm very driven as a person, I have made it a goal of mine that the man that I'm married to will be also driven about our relationship more than I am. If I am more driven, I'm more likely to dive in and take over, and that person then I start entertaining them, and I ain't entertaining no man anymore. This is gonna be a two-way street. They drive the relationship. They don't have to be outgoing like I am, but they have to say, I want to be with you. I want to be connected with you. They have to show initiative. I show initiative in so many other areas of my life because I'm the one making the decision, but it's a relationship, it's 2 people. I must give room to the other person to make the decisions. And then number 4, be real about the negative things that are happening behind the scenes. I love you, I care about you, but these are the challenges that the person has. I don't necessarily tell them what the challenges are because I'm not trying to judge somebody, but I'm paying attention to that. What are those things about us? Because many times people focus more on, oh, they look so cute, they live in a nice house, he drives a nice car, he's an attorney, she's a doctor, oh, he's a software engineer, whatever that is. Those are things that are wonderful. You go out on a date, it feels good. I step back and say, what are the things that could be negative between me and this person? It's not all from them, but what could be a problem down the road? And that helps me to see if this is a problem now, then maybe it can become a strength if we work on it. That doesn't mean I'm breaking up with a person, but it's helping me to also look at the negative as well. And the negative doesn't mean they're bad. It's being realistic. What are the strengths of this relationship, this dating relationship, and what are the weaknesses of this dating relationships? And then number 5, the decision to not treat my boyfriend as a savior. It's very important. Those are decisions I've had to make. Not that they can't do right by me, but I was living before they showed up. And I was solving issues before they showed up. And they haven't committed themselves to me as husband. And I need to look at them as a support person, which is part of relationship, but not as my savior, to take me out of all my problems and help me heal from everything I've been through. No one person can take charge of all that. So not seeing them as a savior has helped me to work through these weaknesses. We are running out of time here. Let me talk a little bit about the cognitive self-talk in the area of breakups. And I'm going to go over this quickly. I probably need to do another video about this, about dealing with loss. But let me just talk about the cognitive self-talk when these relationships have ended. Breakups are good for you. They're good for you. They're good for you if it is not a good fit. And I'm not married, I'm dating. So if there's a breakup, even though it hurts, it might be a good idea for now. And that person could be a potential partner down the road. I'm not one that believes in these strict rules. Once you break up one time, it can never happen. It depends on what led to the breakup. So breakups are good for you if it's now being mutually agreed, or you can see clearly that this is not going to be a good idea to continue. Dating and being engaged and married is not the same. And when you talk to yourself cognitively, what are you doing? You're minimizing and controlling and modulating the affect, the emotional pain that you feel. There's power in thinking cognitively in a way that helps you to manage what you're feeling. If I process it as if, oh yeah, after all my husband did, look at what he did to me, I can't believe he did this, every man I come across is bad, all that negative talk, that just messes with you. It keeps on opening the wound of the divorce, which I'm determined that stuff is not opening up. It's there, but honey, it is healed. So seeing it in a way in the big picture is very important for me. Another thing that I like to do cognitively, I say this is not a failure. And why do I say that? Because of the vow that I've made early on, before I dated anybody, that whoever I come across, because I know people are hurting, because I hurt from my divorce, I will treat them the best way possible. And if I can't treat them in a good way, I better let them go. Nobody deserves to be treated inappropriately because you don't want them. If you don't want them, let them loose. So for the breakups I've had, the two main ones, in fact the two ones, I feel like I did treat them well, and I treated them with respect. And they treated me with respect even though there were areas that led to the breakup. So it is not a failure on my part because, and if I did wrong, I apologize. So it's not a failure of who I am because that event did not happen. I made their, and I could pinpoint areas in which I made their lives better and how they made my life better. I am not a failure because of an event. What matters is what I put into it. And then also, this other part I want to throw in very quickly, because of faith that I have in God. When I sow good, good is coming back to me. If I did good by them and I did those things right, and they, instead of them saying, for example, let's get married, like, I'm not sure, that reward is still coming regardless. It doesn't have to be the reward of them being with me. The reward is coming, and it's coming in many other ways that may even be beyond relationships. And I might share that in the future, how many I've expected rewards after my breakups, and how when they come, I literally pinpoint. And maybe it was meant to come anyway, but I say, that's my reward, that's my reward, that's my reward. Cognitive self-talk is very important. Nobody can waste your time unless you let them. So to say something like, I did anything for 3 years, it wasted my life. No, nobody can waste your life. And if they wasted your life, it's because you left them, you let them. So the next time you're in a relationship, even if you're married, don't let anybody waste your life. Maybe you gave too much. Maybe you forsook your own dreams and your own early on and just totally threw yourself in there. That's okay, because that's what you knew how to do. But nobody wasted your life. Your life is not a waste. You're alive, you're well, you're healthy. You learn from those experiences and you pick yourself back up and you realize how strong you are. You are not, your life is not wasted. And people say things like, in those 3 years, if you didn't date somebody else would have come. Well, nobody else came. And if somebody else wants to come, God can bring that person this very moment. So there's no need to see your life as a waste. See your life as a waste, there's a sense of shame, there's a sense of unnecessary grief, and that messes with your head as well. And then one other area that I love cognitive self-talk is, now that you're single, what are the things you can do without a board meeting? What I mean is, when I was married, and there were some positive things in my marriage, every decision we had to make, we had to sit down and have a meeting, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now I tell myself, well, okay, you don't need a board meeting to do this business idea. You don't need this to do that. Those things that I can do without consulting with somebody, without getting their permission, I lay hold of them and I embrace them. I use those breakups as opportunity to empower myself. And I say to myself, that business you've been working on, move it up a little bit. That date night you don't have anymore, invest that time differently. powerful self-talk and very, very nurturing to your soul as a person. Pain and sadness and divorce, it really can make you feel like you're not, that there's not much about you, that you're not wonderful, that you're not valuable. And it's really important that you nurture your own soul with your thought pattern, with your life and your decisions. So talked about cognitive self-talk, and then let me talk about other people. Other people who know about the relationship may be very judgmental. They may judge you over, you should have left him long time ago. I knew it wasn't gonna fit. Everybody has the idea about what they know wouldn't fit. Some things were more obvious. Maybe the person was abusive. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's amazing when you've been divorced once, everybody's your marriage counselor. That's fine. But the bottom line, it is none of their business. You know, I took one of the guys I dated for a +1 event. And somebody asked me recently about it. Just, you know, people try to be nosy. It's none of their business. I didn't come for your husband. I have a right to take my boyfriend wherever I want to go. It is absolutely none of your business. I'm grown, I'm disciplined, and that's my business. I am not in competition with anybody. And I'm talking about how you relate to other people now in terms of your dating, especially when you're more mature. I'm not in competition with anybody who's married. I'm not in competition with anybody who is dating. I'm not in competition with my ex-husband. And that helps me to take my situation and work with it rather than be worried about what would people say. I should be married by now. None of their business. I am not ashamed. So it's none of their business. None of their business. None of their business. So now let me talk about the grieving process, because this video is going on for a while now. When I've had the breakups, I took time to feel the pain. Especially the last one, I remember telling the Lord, I want to grieve. I want to feel some pain. And I actually felt my temperature, my body temperature go up for a little while. But as I was feeling it, I said, Father, I want this thing off me in a short time. And I started praying. Started doing this cognitive self-talk. I started, working through it and reminiscing of the positivity of it and accepting that it's no longer, the relationship is no longer here. And I broke sweat. And I remember telling somebody I love dearly, I said, I feel so much better. Since that time to now, tremendous progress in multiple areas of my life. I am looking to date again and marry. So I won't be dating several people. Once I'm married, I'm married. But the journey is being impactful, is being inspiring, it's helped me to mature, it's helped me to manage my feelings better, it's helped me to boost my self-esteem. I'm not going down. You shouldn't go down or struggle too much. Get help if you're struggling too much, because oftentimes that's because you're dwelling a lot on what has happened. I see men as positive, and I see my journey as positive in spite of the breakups. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please share it with as many people as possible. Press that notification bell, and I will talk to you very soon by God's grace. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now.